Welcome back to the It Takes Two podcast, episode number 10.
10. We are so glad that you guys are listening or watching wherever you guys are at. We are in a crazy season of holidays and Christmas and New Year's. And so we hope that you have had a great week. We're excited about this episode. We're going to be talking about relationship goals.
Yeah, but I think we got to rewind back because we got a lot of messages like, where was your episode last week, last Friday? And we're like, oh, I think we need to explain.
Yeah, so sorry about that. We didn't put out an episode last week because it was a crazy, we're so
Aside
busy.
from holidays,
Yeah.
the day that we normally were planning on shooting, Spencer became a hero.
Yeah, so it is a crazy story. But basically, yeah, the day we were supposed to record, I was in our church office and Adrian was there too. And our friend had a accident with a box cutter, and he accidentally cut his wrist pretty bad. And
he cut an artery.
Yeah, he sliced his artery, and it was horrific. Like that's literally the only way. It was so bad, and so we were like there right when it happened. So we had to help him, and so basically we were there when it all happened, and we called 911, and the paramedics came and everything, and he's fine. He's doing good now. But I went to the hospital with him and kind of stayed with him a few hours. But yeah, that's the reason.
It's kind of a whirlwind of an experience, and literally he's at work, he's trying to, finesse something, cuts himself. As he's walking out of his office, we're walking in the front doors.
Yeah.
And he's holding his arm like, it's bad, it's a lot. And we're like, what? Like,
yeah.
Literally, I say Spencer saved his life, which you didn't say how that is, but he walked out and he's, it's an artery, so there's a lot of blood everywhere.
A lot of blood.
And you have to think like in an instant, like what you're going to do because you have to make quick decisions. Spencer immediately takes his shirt off, wraps it around his arm, holds his wrist. I call 911 and saved his life. Because when you think about losing that much blood, it was a big ordeal, and thank God he's okay.
Yeah.
Took him to the hospital. He had to get surgery, internal and external stitches, and he's good, but it kind of derailed our plan.
Yeah, I was in the hospital, and I texted Adrian, and we were talking, and she was like, yeah, I don't really think podcast filming is on the table for today. And I said, yeah, no, you're right. So that happened, and yeah, I mean, we kind of had a day to shoot it because we had, crazy busy schedule with families, Christmas, all that. So that's the reason that we didn't. So it was,
it's all for a good cause.
In terms of reasons why not to put out a podcast episode, I think that's a pretty
top
good
tier
reason. But I am sorry. Yeah, we apologize. I know that you guys, but honestly, it's kind of like, it's reassuring that people miss it when we don't do it.
Yeah, we're sorry, but we're glad to know that you want some more. And so we are back, and we're talking relationship goals. Every year, at the beginning of the year, we do this, personally, but also together.
Mm-hmm.
And we wanted to be able to give you guys tools to succeed. We're coming into a new year. People set a lot of goals and expectations for themselves. But what do we do for our relationships? I think sometimes that can get lost in the mix. It's a lot about self-improvement, but I think there can be goals that you can set for your relationship that can really set you up for success.
Absolutely. And, I think there is the cliche of New Year's resolutions and whatever. And you guys can, everybody has different opinions on it. I don't know what your opinion is on New Year's resolutions, but I feel like it's always I think anytime you can have a little bit of a wake-up call and just like reorient yourself and reestablish some things. I think that's a good thing. So it's a natural way to say, okay, maybe you're in a relationship or marriage, maybe you're single, but wherever you're at, it's a good point to say like, okay, let's get back on the same page. Let's kind of recalibrate and let's, start the year off well, because how you start does matter.
Yeah, and I really like the quote. It says, if you shoot for the moon, you'll land among the stars. And I feel like
Mm,
that's really good when it comes to goals, because if at least you're setting some sort of goals, the hope is that you'll achieve it. But if
right.
not, you're still making an improvement along your journey. So I think it's important.
Yeah, it's so important. And we have some markers that like we have gone through, and we will make a document for you guys to download as well. So it's
Mm-hmm.
always easier to have something that you can actually interact with. So we'll make that for you guys to be able to download. We'll provide a link for you guys to click on that and download it. But it's basically different areas of our relationship that we think is important to be on the same page and to set goals and to have vision and to go into the year kind of saying, okay, we're linking arms, we're together in this, and to be on the same page. So we're going to go through those things together step by step and kind of just maybe say what maybe previous goals have been, what your guys' goals could be, because I think this gives a holistic picture of what it looks like.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm excited. It's a great, starter pack, if you will,
Yeah.
for how you guys can set yourself up for success in the new year, and maybe just things that you might not have analyzed before
Mm-hmm.
together.
Yeah.
Giving you some sort of guide on how to do that. So the first area that we have in something like this, it's called emphasis days.
Yes.
So Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I have this Italian like idea in my head. But on each of those days, we're emphasizing a different love language for each other. And we talked about that in episode 6, what
Mm-hmm.
our love languages, how to love each other, and maybe you have different ones. But, maybe on Sunday, like my emphasis is I'm going to make sure that I'm giving Spencer physical touch, whether it's, it's a hug, it's a kiss, it's, letting him know a touch on his shoulder that I'm here for
Yeah.
you. Because maybe those things are not as natural. So on this day, because, I want to be loved in every way. Okay, I want it all. But some are
Yeah,
more
yeah. I mean,
important
you
to
can have a
me.
love language, but like everything is
You still
awesome.
need some of the
Yeah, yeah.
others. So, if what 7 days a week and there's like 5 different love languages. So maybe you're double dipping there, but
Double dip on the ones that they want.
yeah. And maybe Monday is our day off, so maybe we can focus on spending quality time together. Gifts, maybe I'm grabbing you like a coffee to wake you up
Mm-hmm.
in the morning. Like it doesn't have to be crazy extravagant, but how are we practicing those? Maybe it's a note for words of affirmation that you're leaving, or you can write on the mirror, things
Yeah.
like that. I think it's just what keeps things fresh. If that's always in the forefront of your mind, how am I showing love to my person today?
Yeah, it's such a small thing because like a majority of these things can take, 5 seconds,
Yeah.
5 minutes, whatever. But it's like it doesn't take a lot of effort, but it does leave a significant deposit with, who you're with. And sometimes I think we forget about it and, it turns into, oh, I haven't shown love to you in 5 days. Okay, now I need to make up with it for something big. Well, that's like just like not
Right.
a realistic thing and a way to live. But this way, it just keeps the most important person in your life at the forefront of what you're thinking about, And it's like, yeah, a note doesn't cost any money, doesn't really do it, but it just adds to the, hey, I'm thinking about you. I just want to let you
Mm-hmm.
know. And the different amounts or like the different areas of physical touch, quality time, all of those, I feel like it makes a relationship fun and it just makes it new and fresh and it doesn't feel like it's mundane. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
we'll have different emphasis days and just to have a personal accountability. Because I'm like, I mean, ask Adrian this. I'm a very forgetful person. Like I
Yeah.
forget everything. So it's good for me to be like, okay, today, I've said that I'm going to give Adrian, acts of service. So before she asks me to take out the trash, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna take it out. So just small
Mm-hmm.
things like that I think help a lot.
Yeah, and I think it's different, when you're showing love in a way they're not having to ask you. So when this is your emphasis day, I'm gonna go out of my way to like make him breakfast, not because he said, "Hey, I'm hungry," because I'm like, "Oh, I think that he would really appreciate this."
Yeah.
Let him know that I'm thinking of him, that I love him. It's those little things, but it's not having to be asked. Sometimes when you have to be asked, it can feel less genuine.
Because it is less genuine. not to say it's bad,
And
but
I still
like,
want you to do it, so please do
yeah,
it. But
yeah.
it just changes, I think, the dynamic a little bit.
Well, if you are making breakfast next week, you know what I would love?
Tell me.
Can you guess? We haven't had it in a while, but it's awesome.
Oh, not like your typical
No,
American
you make it.
breakfast.
You make it. We haven't had it in a while.
Frittata?
Oh no, but that actually is another one. Maybe
A
that one
Dutch
too.
baby.
Yeah, Dutch baby.
Yeah. Okay.
I've developed this weird sweet tooth. I don't know where it came from.
I don't know who
I don't
you are.
know.
It is the weirdest thing. We went out to Starbucks and he doesn't get his usual. He got a Frappuccino and I was like,
Hold on. Oh, actually, no,
what
that is
is
true. That is
going
true.
on? And then he did it again.
Yeah,
Like, what?
Adrian's out here exposing me, getting caramel frappuccinos.
Like,
Yeah,
what are you,
well,
10 years old?
well, taste buds change every 7 years or something. I think my taste buds are changing. I've always been a savory person, so it's like weird that I have a sweet tooth. Anyways, yeah. So that's good for emphasis days of pick a day, decide, and don't obviously beat yourself up if you forget. But again, it's just like levels, markers, reminders in your phone, small things like that. And so after that, I think this is one of the big things that we can talk about is it's a word of the year.
Yes, and I do love this because we'll pray individually and then we'll come together. Like, this is where I believe God is leading us in this next year, like
Mm-hmm.
as an umbrella overall. And was it the last 4 years? They've been, very on point.
Yeah, we counted to 3 and we said it at the same time and it was the same exact word.
No. But I mean, I feel like
No, they
you
were.
look
They were.
back at what
Yeah.
our word was in January and December, you're like,
Mm-hmm.
wow, that actually came to fruition.
Yeah,
And
yeah, it's
they've
pretty crazy.
compiled to where we are today. And yeah, it's actually just been really cool because I think even when you're journeying through the year, you remind yourself, this is a time where we want to lead second. We want to do really well.
Yes.
We want to, come and support people because that's what we feel like we're called to this year. Or maybe we're called to build this year. We don't know what we're building towards, but we're just going to
Yep.
be ready. And
These were actually all of our words.
yeah.
Like we build, prepare.
Mm-hmm.
That was the year before the podcast started.
Yeah.
Yep. And then grow
Mm-hmm.
was last year or the year before last. And then momentum was this year. So it's just, but it is crazy.
They've been so
They've been
truly
so
reflective. And
true.
honestly, that's because they came through prayer.
Yeah.
And that was like for us together, like this is what our word is and where we feel like we're going and God's leading us. And it's just been really cool to see that unfold and
Mm-hmm.
Also just being aligned in those things.
Yes, because also like you have to realize that you have to be on the same page in prayer spiritually with your word of the year, with your focus, because
Mm-hmm.
as a unit, obviously Satan is trying to destroy marriages. And that's like, he just loves destroying marriages. So if you can properly identify what an enemy is and the way that it's trying to attack you, you can better prepare it together.
And I've made like, personal words of the year for myself, but we can have individual words, but when we come together, like where is God leading us? Maybe there's things that like obviously I personally need to grow in, but what can we do together? And so that's the whole purpose of relationship goals.
Yeah, it just helps keep you on the same page to know, okay, this is what the emphasis of this year is going to be for us. And it brings like a level of unity to your relationship going forward. And that's what it is. And I think a lot of it is like obviously being on the same page, but spiritually, like emotionally, physically, all of that stems from the vision that you have as a couple. And so to have a defined word gives a lot more clarity to what the year will unfold as and like what your priority and focus will be on.
Yeah, because you need direction. You need to know where you're going and like what you're working so hard for. Sometimes I think in the beginning of the year, you're obviously really motivated. You have all your goals laid out. You want to do all those things. But like, what's the ultimate goal of like, where are you headed?
Yeah.
I think if you have that kind of clear direction together, it can really sustain you through the rest of the year.
Yeah. I mean, even like, for example, like one of our words was growth. One of our words was growth, right? And in that year, it was like we would come up against things even individually or, struggle or, this is annoying, I'm frustrated. But then we would remember, okay, no, this is like our word is growth. And that helped us overcome hurdles in that year because we knew, that word from the Lord. And because of that, it gave us a little bit more confidence and ability to like move past and work through things.
Yeah.
So, so after the word of the year, we have types of goals. And so,
Yeah.
like, the first one would be financial goals.
Yeah. And I feel like this has been really good for us, even just to reevaluate. I feel like things change so much, like with where we've been in the last few years.
Yeah.
That's like, okay, let's realign. Let's take a look at our budget. Like, what do we want to be saving this year? Or like, what are we, every week, what are we kind of like working towards? What's our ultimate goal? Do we have a goal?
Mm-hmm.
If we don't have a goal, like, are we just literally living and maintaining and not looking to the future? So I feel like this allows you to see past maybe what's happening right now and look ahead and prepare.
Yeah, I mean, and again, right? We've talked about this, I think, on the last one or the one before that, of just like what a stress finances can be in marriage, and
Mm-hmm.
how much people fight about it, and how much it divides people apart. So you get ahead of it. It's like the only time you don't want the only time for you to be talking about finances with each other is to be in a fight or in a heated emotional moment. You want to be able to forecast, and so
Yeah.
even like we've talked about our struggles of like, oh, financial lack in seasons, and it's like it helped that we were at least on the same, we knew what we had and we knew what we were doing with it, so that helps.
Like, what are your
Yeah.
margins? Or maybe, you need to pay off debt. What does that look like? What's your action plan? Like,
Yes.
you can't just live and accept reality. Maybe it's, okay, I need to do a little extra to make up for this, or we want to do something special. So, what are we doing to make it possible? Because we can't make it happen with what we have right now.
Yeah, it's just a level of stewardship of, okay, God's given us this, and everything that he gives us is a blessing. So how do we handle that, and how do we use it, and how do we, grow it or put it towards, debt or this or that, whatever that may look like. It just always helps to be on the same page together, in terms of like, okay, this is where we're at. This is where we're praying for too, like a prayer
Mm-hmm.
point of finances.
Yeah.
And so when you believe together, obviously the faith is stronger that way when you're with your spouse doing it.
Yeah, we've also sponsored a compassion child. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's been, like a goal. We want to see that through all the way till he's 18.
Yep.
Our church has done different fundraisers for like building projects and things like that. And so we've given to that. And maybe I think there was like a 2-year goal that we had for the last project that we did.
Yes. Yeah.
And, it's like prayerfully considering those things. Not just maybe like saving money, paying off debt, but like how do you want to like steward the kingdom?
Yes.
How do you want to give financially to those things? We've done that, and it's been honestly it's been such a blessing to us to be
Mm-hmm.
able to give in that way. Even just being on the same page with our tithes, like what does that look like? How's that, coming into play?
Yeah, it is funny because when our church did like one of the fundraisers, I forget which one it was, but I just remember, separate. We were in and we were separately like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
well, so what do you think? And I think Adrian said a number, and I was like, oh, I actually was thinking the same number,
Which
and
was like a scary
it
number,
was a
but we
scary number.
prayed separately, came together, and we're like, okay, that's not crazy. Like God spoke the same thing to both of us separately.
Yeah, and it's funny because Adrian was like, "Wow, I thought like that was going to be, you were going to be like, whoa, that's a lot," and I
Yeah.
was like, "No, I thought you were gonna say, oh, that's a lot." So if we had never talked about it, maybe fear would have gotten in the way, and we never would have decided to give that much. But
Mm-hmm.
because we talked about it, I think you allow God to move in your life a little bit more when you communicate and come to agreement in those ways. So. Yeah, finances is a huge part. It should be something that is on your mind and on your list of, okay, let's talk about it, let's dream together, let's plan together.
Yeah, and I think when you talk about, our previous episode about top 3 marriage killers, obviously finances can be, a big hurdle for people. It can be a hindrance to, a lot of things in a relationship, but if you look at it from the beginning,
Yeah.
not once you're already there, like you have to have that conversation starter now,
Yes.
and I think it can be really fruitful.
Yeah. Okay, so we are done with finances. Next is spiritual goals.
Yes.
Spiritual goals, not crystals and Ouija boards, but biblical
Okay.
spirituality. So what does that mean to you?
Yeah, well, spiritual goals are like, it's just so important to not have independent like relationships with the Lord, but like how do you come together and do
Mm-hmm.
that? So, are we doing devotions together? Like maybe it's once a week we have like a devotional date. Are you praying together? So we started praying at nights together before we went to bed, not just, individually throughout the day or
Mm-hmm.
at night on our own before meals, but like, how are we coming together and like, what are our prayer requests? This can sound really basic,
Right.
but if you're not involving your person in your spiritual journey, they're missing out on probably the biggest part of your life.
Yes.
So, what does your prayer life look like? We started fasting once a week together, and that was actually really cool. And it varied. Maybe fasting was we fasted a meal, maybe we did just water for a day, maybe we fasted secular music,
Mm-hmm.
social media, but we did it together and for a purpose. Because I think if you're believing for something, what are those walls that you're breaking down? Um, yeah, all the spiritual disciplines. There's evangelism, solitude, stewardship, and, all right on down the line. How are we emphasizing those things together?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's like the biggest part of our life, and I feel like what comes to mind is like Mark 12:30 that says, "Love the Lord your God with all of your heart, soul, mind, strength." Like with everything that you are, love God. But then it's also crazy because like the Bible's like, you guys, we are one, right? We
Mm-hmm.
are one. So spiritually, it's like if you're not with your person praying and doing these things and being on the same page with these goals, it's kind of like half of you is believing and contending for your family when it needs to be all of you. And so it's funny how, and maybe like a little bit ironic how I feel like a lot of times sometimes this is like where couples don't want to talk about things
It can make
or
them feel uncomfortable and
yeah.
really vulnerable, but if we are not spiritually yoked, maybe you're feeling like Spencer just flexed if you're not watching the video.
Wow, I gotcha.
I
Such
don't, I
a
wasn't expecting that.
yeah.
Anyways, if you're not on the same page spiritually, that can be a huge struggle for marriages, not feeling like the other person is the same spiritual maturity as you. But
Mm-hmm.
if you start actually engaging in a spiritual relationship together, you're going to experience a lot more intimacy and a lot more growth in your relationship.
Yep. And here, I guess just a little tip here, but if you feel like, oh, I wish my person was more, inclined to go to church, to pray with me, to do all these things, like, oh, they're not where I'm at. If that's like you, then you like create the space, a
Give opportunity
safe
for that to
space
happen.
for it to happen, and maybe that's not saying, hey, I wish you would pray with me more. It's instead
Mm-hmm.
saying, hey, man, it would mean a lot to me if we started praying or before bed, this would happen. I think, we get so defensive because we care so much. And when we care so much, like
Mm-hmm.
our passion comes off as like aggression, and it actually makes people sink away and reserve. But we have to remember, like, if we're talking about the spiritual things of our life, we're talking about Jesus, like Christ and God's working in our life. That should be like the safest place to be with somebody. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that are like, oh, I wish my person would do this more.
But shame isn't going to drive them to
Yeah.
growth. I
Mm-hmm.
think maybe, it starts with you inviting them into that process. And if that's what it is, then that's, a great place to start. And then hopefully eventually they're initiating those
Yeah.
moments. But it's okay if you're initiating it, if that's what you need to get yourself to a healthy place with them.
And if every time that something like this comes up and it leads to a fight, the guys or the girl is never going to want to bring it up because it just results in fighting, and so it actually pushes them away. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a good point to make it an emphasis to have this either be great and like yes we're on the same page, or to work towards that and that be the goal of the year.
And know that when you're growing, you need encouragement, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if this is like a new thing that they're starting for them, don't condemn them and make them feel bad because they're not already doing it. Help. You have to start somewhere. So like just get started and encourage them along the way. And um, if it's a new thing, then just, have patience, but challenge them. Don't condemn them, challenge them.
Yeah, encouragement. It's a movie quote. If you know it, if you
Amazing.
know, you know. If you don't, then you don't.
Next category I would say would be intimacy goals.
Intimacy goals. Yeah, this is I mean, this is obviously important. And I feel like, we're obviously going to have this episode later on talking more about this specifically, so we won't get too into the details. I mean, I guess in the
No
episode.
nitty gritty, but
Yeah.
a relationship, a marriage
Mm-hmm.
specifically and exclusively is built
Yes.
on physical intimacy.
Yeah.
So if you are not being intimate with your spouse, maybe this is a goal that you need.
Something needs to change.
Yeah, because it's not healthy to, withhold that. It's
Yeah.
not healthy to maybe just get caught up in the busyness of life, because this is really what brings you together emotionally,
Oh, yeah.
physically, in so many different ways. And so it's really important, So if you're not together, at least once a week,
Yeah, I mean, I
know?
feel like that's a fair
Like,
marker.
yes, life is busy. I'm totally gonna have grace for people. Maybe you work opposite schedules, but if it's not at least once a week, you're, you know, you're missing a part of your relationship that needs to be there.
Yeah, absolutely. And
And you know
like,
what? It's a goal.
right, and that's the thing. It's a goal, and it's like we'll get into this more later, but it's like it's different in the sense of like, it's not like it's like all right, it's 3 times this week, and no matter what, that's just like it doesn't work like that because obviously it's different, and you have to have a level of like connection and desire, and you have to
Yeah.
but again, when the goal is in front of you, you'll make more of an effort to actually try and go after it and make time and intention for it. So you have to have something of a marker, because then it's kind of like, it's not like you think that you're the worst person in the world if you miss
But
it out.
hopefully this is something that you're looking forward to. Like, okay,
Yeah,
this
no,
is
yeah,
our
hopefully.
goal.
If it isn't, then
But this is our goal. So, I'm saying
Yeah.
this as a baseline, but like once a week, we're going to be intimate together. And then maybe you're excited. Maybe you plan like a special date night that preludes that. Maybe you're sending love notes throughout the day because you're building that anticipation. So I just think to not address that in relationship goals for a married couple is missing the mark somewhere.
Yes, yes. And there's probably bigger issues at hand, which again, we're not going to get into now, but we will in a further episode. But this is just a section that's very important, and it's very vital to talk about it and to create goals in the level or in the area of intimacy.
And this whole, process of relationship goals for the new year, it's to create communication on things that are
Yes.
really important that maybe you wouldn't naturally talk about otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
If that's not a everyday casual conversation for you,
Yeah,
this can
exactly.
really get you started on things that are really important and set you up for success for the rest of the year.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. And then the last one, it's not a goal, but we find this is really important for us, and it's kind of like quarterly investments, and not like stock market stuff, but like how are you
Relational investments.
relational investments on a bigger scale with as a couple. So for us, it's okay, every quarter, what are we doing? Is it a nice dinner and hotel? Is it we go on a trip?
What are we looking forward to
Yes.
that's something that's just for the two of us?
Yeah.
So it can be a day trip, it can be a weekend away, maybe it's a vacation, or a nice dinner. Like, what are you doing to invest in your relationship?
And I will say, like, it's not all about money, because again, like, we're not flying to Paris on our private jet to, it's
Big bummer, man.
I know. Well, I
I
would
wish
if I
we
could.
were.
But I feel like in this area, people have an easy time spending money on their kids, on their work, on their hobbies, on all of these, and for some reason, people don't want to take the time and the effort to spend money and spend time on your relationship. When in reality, that should be the thing that you're caring for the most. And it's like, well, I can't leave my kids, or we don't have that
Yes,
much
you
money.
can.
You can.
Yes, you can.
And you
And they
need
will
to.
be happy to send you off knowing that their parents have a healthy marriage.
Exactly. What's more important is like the marriage and the unit to be able to steward a healthy relationship. Because guys, I mean, this is not a parenting podcast, but I'm just saying, like, your kids notice and recognize and take things from what they see more than what they're told. So they have to grow up seeing a healthy relationship and a healthy marriage, because they take cues from that. So it's like, even if you don't have all the money in the world, get your parents or get a babysitter or something to take the kids overnight and do something fun and fancy in your house and stay the night together. Like there
Mm-hmm.
are ways to
We've
make it
built
happen.
blanket
We have.
forts and we'll watch movies and get like special snacks. And it didn't cost us anything, but
Yeah.
we made a special memory together, or we made a special dinner that we probably wouldn't normally have. Like we have chicken and rice every day, but
Yep.
this day we're going to have something different, So it doesn't have to take a huge financial investment, but my challenge to you is where are you spending your time? Where are you spending your money? It's going to show you what you care about. And if you're
Yep.
not spending that on your marriage, then I got some questions, because you'll always find money for the things that really matter to you. Like I'll talk to people all the time about, oh, are you going to come to this conference? Are you going to come to this event? But it costs, a registration fee. And
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, I can't afford it. I'm like, well, you got a coffee, 5 times this week.
Yeah.
And those 5 coffees could have paid for this event.
Exactly.
Did you need to go to Starbucks? Could you have made it at home? So it's the little chipaways that feel like, it's not that big of a deal. But when it really comes down to it, you find money for the things you care about. You find
Yes.
time for the things you really care about.
Yes, it's not a lack of money or resources, it's the lack of priority in your life.
Yeah.
So
So you got to prioritize your relationship.
Yeah, so in I think you said it best in the beginning. Like it's something to look forward to. Because then it's like if
Yeah.
you have a bad week, if you're like, oh, I'm stressed at work, all this, it's like, yeah, but hey, in 2 Fridays we're going to do this, and it's like, oh yeah, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
So it's something that you can constantly look forward to. Something that you can take a break from the world and get out of your battle zone and be able to be with your person and spend quality time, talk, and just like kind of reinvigorate whatever needs to be reinvigorated. So that is generally the goal of those investments.
Yeah, it's just something to look forward to and things to be excited about and to create good memories. Because we always try to say this like relationships, marriage, it can be fun, it can be exciting. And maybe you're like, I haven't had a good time with them in a while. Well, then create a memory. This is
Mm-hmm.
an opportunity for you to say, hey, this would be really fun for both of us. We can spend quality time together, we can
Yeah.
invest in something that we really care about. So create those, special memories.
Yep. It's all, I mean, all of this is about fighting the normalcy of life, like fighting
What's
things
mundane?
what's mundane. Yeah, and keeping your relationship as it should be, which is something that is treasured, that is valued, and that is stewarded.
Mm-hmm.
Because life happens and you work and they work and you got kids and you got a job and you got all these things going.
Practice, games, tournaments,
Yeah, and soon, it's easy to just be in a place where you are cohabitating with your person and you're not actually engaging in a real relationship and growing together.
Yeah, so these are just some really good markers that we have done, and we just thought, oh, how can we set people up for the new year? This is what we do every year together, and I look forward to our little coffee dates where we sit down
Yeah.
and talk about things that we've been really, even just like praying about, or like, hey, I've been thinking this would be something that I
Right.
really like to do, and maybe it hasn't come up in conversation, but now I think is a great time to bring it up.
Yeah. Yeah.
A place that I think that we can improve or I can improve, and even just talking about each other, how do you think things have been going? What as we reflect on the last year, what's been your favorite memory? We'll
Mhm.
always say that, like, what's been your favorite memory? What's something that, you really appreciated about me? What's something that, maybe you think I can improve on? It's a great opportunity to bring that out. So, go get a coffee, go, take an afternoon together, talk about the next year, the things that you hope for, the things that you're dreaming for, and maybe you'll land among the stars.
Yeah. And so we're praying that this will be a great year for everybody that's listening to this podcast, but it does take work and it takes the ability to say, all right, maybe what we have been doing isn't working, so we're going to try something new. So we have a link for you guys. We'll put it in the description where you can download this, and we just encourage you, just go out, get some coffee with your significant other, fill it out, do it, and make this year the best possible year for you guys.
Yeah, be intentional, be loving, and show the person that you're with, what they really mean to you. Because maybe you have those feelings of like great love and adoration, but you just don't know how to show it.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully these tools can help you to be intentional and to show how much you really love the person that you're married to or you're in a relationship with.
Yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed these tools that we gave you, these things. Fill them out. As always, make sure that you guys leave a review for the podcast. We would greatly appreciate that. 5-star review. Leave a written review. That's the best way that we can get ranked on
Write it
podcasts.
out, baby.
Write it out. Let us know. We love all of you, our 2 crew. You guys are so special to us. And unless like somebody that we know's leg gets chopped off this week, we will see you.
We're praying against that.
Yeah, we will see you next week on It Takes Two.